And some of us do not know exactly how to to make it not ring in Teams. It's a new thing for us. So if you see me looking around and if I look a little confused sometimes, that's the reason, even though it's showing that I'm not available. So well, I'm glad to see so many of you joining today. I am Daphne James, and I'm the Director of Admissions at the LSU Law Center. And today I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about building a professional resume or building a resume that you're going to submit to a law school when you apply. But I think I got some ground rules when I initially accepted. So I'm going to start out by just telling you a little bit about LSU, and then I'll go into the resume process, and we'll have questions. And I will say that if there are questions in the chat that appear timely, feel free to stop me because it's a lot of information, um, a lot of things to consider, and I don't mind answering questions during the actual presentation. Just let me know, and I will raise your hand or something and let me know, and I'll draw back for it. So with that being said, again, I want to thank you guys. I have been working at LSU a long time. I've been here for, this is my 25th year here working in the Office of Admissions. I went to school here. So I've been here a pretty good, probably most of my actual adult life. And one of the great things is that I know that you guys are having an awesome experience at your school. The good thing is that I had a great experience, which is what enabled me to actually even be able to come back here and work. Because if it was a product I didn't believe in, I wouldn't be able to talk to you guys about it. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. And if for some reason, so tell me, can everybody see, give me a thumbs up or something if you can see what I'm sharing, it should be. Okay, good. All right, thank you. So Louisiana State University, our law school, is located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It is on the main campus of LSU. If you have your screen set to speaker view, the building behind me is the Law Center. This is the part of the building that faces the main campus. We do have an additional building that it's connected to right behind. All of our students have all of their classes in this building. Obviously, there's a law library. You really don't have to leave. There's a CC's Coffee that sells not only coffee, but sandwiches and salads and breakfast. So you really never have to leave until you get ready to go home for the day. There's a student lounge and then other amenities that students can take advantage of. So with the LSU Law class of 2027, 43, almost 44% of them were males. And surprise, we have a large number of female students at the Law Center, as you can see. I don't know where you guys are in your journeys, how many of you are majoring in business or in the social sciences or in one of the hard sciences, but there are several dual degree program opportunities at LSU. You have the opportunity to earn a master's degree while pursuing your JD in a few areas. I always forget them, but you can see them on the website, is what I always tell people. There's a master's in public administration, there's a master's in business administration, a master's in social work. You have the opportunity to earn a master's of science in finance or a master's in mass comm. So there are several different avenues to pursue. Most of the students that do dual degree programs, they start with the law program and then spend their second year in the program of their choice. You don't have to do it that way, but that's the way that it is typically. Study abroad programs, we have a program that we do every summer. A lot of our 1L students, our first year students, participate in, which is our program in Lyon in France. So that's something that that you might be interested in doing while at LSU. In addition to that, we have partner schools in different parts of the world that students will go to either during a regular semester or during a summer. And if none of those work for you, then our Center for Civil Law Studies and International Programs has agreements, not official agreements, but agreements with several different schools in other places. We've had students, for example, that have gone to schools in to China, to South Africa, to places in Germany. So you have other options available other than what we have set up. And if you look here at the bottom, you'll see some of the bar passage information. It's really just for Louisiana, though. I will say that our students do very well on bars all over the US. We have alums that are practicing almost in every state. There may be one where we don't have anybody. I always joke that it's a state that nobody wants to live in anyway. So, and I don't know which one it is, but we have alums that are all over. In addition to being stateside, we have alums practicing in countries throughout the world. So LSU can be a springboard for you to wherever. And you can have the opportunity to go wherever you'd like to go if you decide that LSU is where you want to go to school. But this is just bar passage information. Traditionally, we'll have the highest bar passage rate among schools in Louisiana, and for people that come into Louisiana to take the bar who maybe have gone to school in other states. So here's information about what to do if you want to apply to LSU. Probably the first thing that you should consider is on the website, there's going to be a list of all of the things you need to do to apply to law school. And this is kind of an abbreviated version of that. But I recommend, if you're interested in a school, to reach out to an admissions professional. Most of us have professionals that are available to chat with you whenever you have questions about the application process, or you can send an email, obviously. But this way you get to know intimately what each school wants. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about the resume process, because it's something that you may want to chat with different schools about what they're looking for in your resume. And in addition to that, in your personal statement, in other statements that are required for the schools. So, we are very, very, very similar, but we do have certain nuances that make one school different from another school. So for LSU Law, this is our application checklist. Obviously, you have to have an LSAT score or a GRE for most law schools. For LSU, it has to be the LSAT. We do not accept the GRE, nor do we accept any other test evaluation system. So LSAT is what you have to have. Our current LSAT median is a 157. I'm sorry, 156. It was 157 last time. So 156, and GPA median is a 3.71. So you do have to submit an LSAT score, and everybody has to do a CAS report. I'm gonna guess that you guys either have had a session or you know a little bit about using the Law School Admissions Council and registering for a Credential Assembly Services account. They're the people, CAS, Credential Assembly Services, they're the people that will send all of the law schools to which you apply a report that tells us some stuff about your GPA. We'll get a breakdown of your GPA year by year. We'll get letters of recommendation as demonstrated here. LSU requires 2. We will accept up to 3. And that's where you're going to send your transcripts from every school or college that you attended, whether it was courses that you took as a high school student, AP courses, or if it, courses that you took on the collegiate level after high school. So everything will go through the Credential Assembly Service. So 2 letters of recommendation, all your academic transcripts and your LSAT report, LSAT score, excuse me, will come to us through that CAS report. Then for LSU, there are a couple of other things that we do ask of all of our applicants. You are required to write a personal statement where you tell us a little bit about who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you you. And it can be as personal as you'd like it to be. I recommend though, just make sure it's not redundant. Make sure that when you look at your resume, you're not just rehashing it in your personal statement. Make sure that if you look at your transcripts, you're not just telling us what you did every semester. You're going to give us a list of campus activities and honors and awards. So you want to make sure that you write your personal statement about something else or about one aspect of the thing that you think is the most important thing that you did. LSU, then we go a little bit further. We do require a why LSU statement. And that statement, we ask you to look at what LSU's mission is. We'll give you a little bit of guidance on the application. And we ask of you to tell us about why you think that LSU would be a good fit for you based on what you know about the school. What do you think you can bring to LSU? What benefit might we get from it? And then what it is that you, like I said, hope to get from us. That statement usually is about a page, maybe a page and a half if you got a lot to say. But that's where you let us know if you're interested in one of our certificate programs. For example, if you want to do energy law, you may use that YLSU statement to tell us a little bit about the energy law interests that you have, maybe some things that you've done that kind of uniquely qualify you to study energy law, or tell us why you're interested in it. But that's the YLSU statement. Everyone must submit a resume. Now, I used to tell people, your resume, start with collegiate work. Tell us whatever you did, anything, whether it's law related or not, spell it out on the resume. But don't tell us about other things like what did you do before, like high school or that kind of thing. If you're coming straight to law school from from college, and you went straight to college from high school. Now I'm revising that because there are a couple of states where the bar is questioning students about why they didn't tell about that job they had working at the snowball stand when they were in the 12th grade or whatever. So now I'm saying for your resume for LSU, just tell us everything. If you started working at 16, tell us about that job that you had at Chick-fil-A or wherever it was that you worked, because you don't want to have to come back and try to amend your application later. So those are the basic components of the law school application. Those are the required components that everybody has to do. Of course, when you start working on your application, you may answer a couple of questions that will say, hey, if you answer yes to this, then you need to supply an explanation, a paragraph, some type of addendum that explains this to us. So if you apply to LSU and you answer the question about having been, let's see, put on probation or something at school, whether it's academic, directly academic related, or if it's like a behavioral type issue, you will have to submit an explanation for that. But there's a space in the application packet for you to do that. So just remember that there are things that require an explanation, and then there are things that we will accept an explanation for as well. Like if you want to talk about your LSAT score, if you want to talk about, give us an explanation of that. Some people like to do a GPA addendum, whether they got put on academic probation or anything, they still want to do one. The application deadline for LSU is June 1st, and there really is no application fee at this time. So what I want to do, because I feel like I said a whole lot of stuff, I want to pause and give you guys, are there any questions at all about any of the information that we just shared? Okay, I saw something. I'll look in the chat and see what it is. Okay, good. So good. That's good. Thank you for taking notes. That's always helpful.
Course. And everyone, if you guys have any questions, you're able to just leave it in the chat if you don't want to answer, if you don't want it right now. But if you have any questions about application deadlines, this is the time. This is the time to ask all of those questions.
And in addition to that, though, keep in mind too, like I said, we are more than happy to answer questions outside of this presentation. And if you want to, you'll do it. Tyler, what should we not put in our resume? We might talk about that a little bit. There are, I have a lot of do's, not as many don'ts, but maybe we'll cover that when we get into the procedure procedural information about the resume. Getting my words mixed up today. So this is what we're talking about today, building a strong law school resume, tips for crafting a competitive application. So what's the purpose of the actual application? Like, why are you even applying to law school? And what is it that you want to tell us on your resume? Well, your resume is gonna highlight your academic achievements, your leadership, and your experience. Your whole app is kind of set up to do that. Um, the actual resume will supplement your personal statement and your LSAT scores and your letters of recommendation. We will showcase the qualities that law schools are looking for. We're looking for people who are active listeners. We're looking for people that have good communication skills. We're looking for people that have research skills, leadership skills. We're looking for critical thinkers. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, because I'm thinking to myself, now I don't have all of those things. If you don't, then of course you want to highlight the things that you do have and make sure that you emphasize those things to a law school. And that'll be a combination between the resume and all those other factors and all those other components of the app that we talked about a little bit earlier. So, what are the key sections of a law school resume? What is it that you typically will want to tell a school? You want to give us some contact info. That's just in general, what goes on the top of a resume. Your name, your email. You can put your phone number. You don't have to put your personal address on there. You can if you'd like to, but I think that we're kind of straying away from that, from putting an actual address on there. Education. You can tell us your degree, your GPA. Now, I think I have a little bit later on a slide where I say, look, if your GPA is very strong, you may want to put it on there. If it's not, you might want to leave it off. It's totally up to you. If there are honors, and what I mean by honors is if you graduated or will graduate with honors, you can put, whatever your actual honors are. And if you'd like to include relevant coursework, you can. This is up to you. If you were a major, like I was at a school recently that had a legal studies major, for example. Well, in that major, they took constitutional law, they took an ethics course, I think, and maybe something else. Then yes, you definitely want to highlight that. But if you're an engineering major, for example, you may want to highlight if you had to take intro to philosophy, for example, because that's a course that I think you might use in preparation for law school. And there could be others. If you're not sure, leave it off. It's not a mandatory thing. These are things that you can include on your resume. Um, Make sure though that you're only telling us, you don't have to put your high school graduation information on there. You can just put your collegiate information. If you had work somewhere, an internship, tell us what you did. And people always ask, well, I haven't done, or tell me, I haven't done anything law related. I haven't. Well, you know what? We don't expect you to necessarily have done anything law related. So if you did have a legal internship or externship, that's cool. If you didn't, not a problem. Include it as well. We are more interested in the fact that you did something as opposed to what you did and in what discipline. So you should include that. Activities, you can include your main student organizations, volunteer experiences, especially if you had a leadership role. And the reason I'm saying that you can include them, you may not want to put them all on the resume, is because most of our law school applications have a question that asks about campus involvement, activities, blah, 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 and you can put them there. So you may want to just highlight the more important ones to you. Like if you were the president of an org or the secretary or the recording treasurer or whatever title, you may want to put those. Or if it's something that you think is particularly of interest, you can put those, but there'll be somewhere else in your app you can add all the things that you did. And then skills and certifications. Languages, definitely put that if you are bilingual. I just saw someone put that they had professional proficiency in a language or something, and I had to go look that up. So I wasn't totally sure what that meant. But you can add in any certifications if you'd like, especially if you think that they're relevant. I would add in whatever, because to me, it tells a school that you're a person that tries to go above and beyond and to go past what may be required. Because if you took the time to get certified in an area, especially if it wasn't required for a course, I would definitely do it. I see the question about opinion on a resume, and we're going to go. I think I have something in here that talks about that. So, crafting a strong education section. I think this is what I kind of alluded to just a moment ago. That you should list if you have a master's, there may be some of you that are pursuing a master's degree, list your degrees in reverse chronological order. Include your GPA if it's strong. Um, but keep in mind that whether you include it or not, we're going to know what it is because, like I mentioned, when we get your CAS report, we will have your GPA and we will have a breakdown. I sometimes discourage law school applicants from putting their GPA on their resume. I like this, and I do kind of recommend, but then I kind of don't sometimes, so I know that sounds very wishy-washy. But try to make sure that the GPA that you put is your actual cumulative GPA. Sometimes we see a GPA and there's a discrepancy, or make sure that you update your resume to show the GPA as it is when you apply to law school. Because you may have done your resume a while ago and said, oh, well, let me upload my resume. And you didn't really think, honest mistake, you didn't really think, oh, let me update my resume as well. And you have your GPA from when you were a sophomore. So you may have a 3.5, but really the Law School Admissions Council, after evaluating your transcript, may show a 3.3. And then the admissions committee conversation goes something like, well, this looks like misrepresentation. Then we have to have a long conversation about why the GPA is different from what we have on the CAS report. And like I said, you can mention relevant coursework. And if you're not sure if it's relevant, have a conversation with your pre-law advisor or other academic advisor, or reach out to the school. And some schools may say, hey, put it on there. Some schools may say, we don't want to see all that. So trying to give you something that's general that we'll accept, because it's always best, at least to me, it's better to have it there and not need it than to need it there and not have it. And then you want to highlight academic honors if you have space, and we'll get to that space question in a little bit. If you don't want to highlight them there, like I said, many schools have sections where we're asking your campus activities. We're asking you about whether you had any honors while you were in school. And look, guys, I do want to encourage you, and this is not for the resume, but for the law school application. When you're highlighting academic honors, please note that they are talking about collegiate honors. Unless it's something extremely significant from high school, I would not put on there that I was on the dean's list in high school. And that goes back to maybe not having reviewed your application to revise it before you sent it to a law school. Work and internships. You want to focus on everything that you did. And one of the things that I'm sure that your career counselors or anyone who's told you what to do with your resume, it's probably said use action words, use action verbs. I have action verbs there, but you know, verbs are action words anyway. So you want to use words like that convey what you did, that you researched, you drafted, you analyzed, you negotiated, you facilitated. So you want to use words that show that you actually did these things. And if you have some skills that you think are transferable to law school, some of the things that we talked about, some of the qualities and characteristics that law schools are looking for, or what we think will make a good student and a good lawyer, time management skills, writing, public speaking skills. Those are things that you can demonstrate. For example, if you had a job where you, let's say you didn't have a job, but you were an ambassador for either a program at your school or you were an ambassador for the school. Many of the things that you may do as an ambassador are things that would trickle to saying that you might be a successful law student or lawyer, because you have to have time management skills, because if you're an ambassador, you're doing a lot of work. Public speaking, because you probably have to present things about the school to the students or faculty or family or whoever you meet with on a day-to-day basis. So that's something. You may be able to demonstrate your leadership skill. Obviously, for example, if you're a school ambassador and you're like if you're an orientation leader, I know that you have the opportunity to attend orientation conferences. Maybe you were the person who designed your banner or a t-shirt or whatever. So positive verbs, active, and make sure that you quantify your accomplishments if you can. An example of quantification could be, let's say you were in a sorority and you had a particular goal that you wanted to reach, and you're the treasurer. Maybe you could talk about the budget that you had for the sorority and how you helped to, manage the budget. Or even if you were at a job and you were the person who had to handle the day's cash receipts, you could talk about handled over 500 $1,000 in cash receipts on a weekly basis or something like that. So that's where you want to put those things. This is important to law schools because we're looking for good grades. We're looking for good LSAT scores, but we're also looking for people who have been involved in things, people who have work experiences, people who were in the military. So we're looking for a lot of different things. I know you guys hear, oh, well-rounded, well-rounded. Well, we really are looking for a well-rounded student. Leadership and extracurriculars, as it says here, you want to make sure that you tell us about what you've been involved in. The application process to law school is the time to toot your own horn. If it's not in the resume, make sure that you're sharing all of these things somewhere in the application so that we know who you are and what you've been doing. We are looking at your grade point average in relationship to work experience, campus involvement. And we're saying, okay, this student managed to earn, excuse me, a 3.5 GPA while working here, while being involved in campus activities. And you want to, I'm gonna flip back for just one sec to the quantify thing. You want to be able to tell us how many hours you spent doing something. If you were a member of the debate team and you guys practiced 5 hours a week, you want to make sure you tell us that. Spend an average of thus and so hours per week practicing. So be sure that you take the time to share those things. And like I said earlier, we value involvement beyond academics. And that's where you can kind of showcase that in that section of your resume. Do you have skills? Are you certified in anything? Have you published anything? You can talk about your language, fluency. If you're fluent in another language, just put, proficient. Well, don't put proficient because I don't know what that means, but put fluent in Spanish, fluent in French, whatever it is. If you have technical skills, if you have a certification in I'm taking a data analytics course. So let's say you took outside of school, you became certified in one of those languages, Looker or something like that. You could put that there. Writing and research. Did you have anything published? Are you a poet and you've had poems that were published in a poetry anthology? Put those things there as well. Like I said, this is horn tooting time. So formatting style tips. One page if possible, but if you have a little more that you need to add in, try not to go over 2 pages. I tell students all the time, I have been working for many years, had a couple of jobs, and my resume, I think it's 1 page. I think that you can make it a little bit shorter, but do make sure that you share all the experiences that you've had that might come up later. Like when you get ready to apply for the bar exam and wherever you take the bar exam after law school, they will want a copy of your law school application that will include your resume. And if what you've reported to them, because they're going to ask you to scour your brain and tell them everything you did. So if you've reported to us, these 4 jobs, but you list 7 jobs on your application for the bar, then they're going to ask you why. And so you may have to go back to your law school and amend the application. So try to put everything on there. You just don't have to go in depth as much on everything. And there are ways to tailor it. Get with your career services professional, or anyone that you have who knows about the application, well, not the application, the resume writing process. But fonts, you want to use clear professional fonts. Don't use Comic Sans on your law school application resume, really on a resume in general, but use a professional font. I will tell you, I hate Times New Roman. I put it on here because people use it, but use something clear and easy to read that looks good and does not look like you were just doing a project for a fun, cute class. Margins, keep your margins at 1 inch. You can use bullet points for readability, especially if you're not going to have as much on your resume. If you get to a situation where your resume is going to be one that's going to be 2 pages, you can still use bullets, but maybe not in the boom, boom, boom form, but use them like instead of commas and use them that way. It does help us to follow the points a little bit better when you have the bullets there. But for space purposes, if you have a lot to say, try to use them in lieu of the commas, and it still then makes your skill highlighted. And avoid personal pronouns. I, me, my. You don't have to put that in there. I just saw a resume the other day where it was almost like a little personal essay type thing, which I didn't hate it, but I didn't think it was necessary. Like the applicant had, okay, here's who I am. And then he had like background information, like I was born in Pensacola, Florida, and this happened and that happened. Like you don't need that on your resume. So don't include that. In addition to that, on the resume for law school, you don't need to put, I think people like to put an objective on their resume. We don't need an objective. We know that your objective is to get into law school because that's where you applied. If you'd applied somewhere else, if you're applying the MBA program or another program, still the same. Your objective is to get into that school. So you don't need to put that on your resume. It just takes up extra space that you don't really have because you want to tell us about all the wonderful things that you've done, your experiences and your work. So here's some common mistakes to avoid. And I think we alluded to at least one of them, which is including unnecessary high school details. I don't need to know that you were on the swim team in high school. I don't need that on your resume. I don't need to have on your resume, that you graduated from blank high school and you were valedictorian. That's awesome, but you don't want to include it on your resume. Now, I did say make sure to include any work experience though. So don't forget about that. Customize your resume. If there's a generic, vague resume that you use, like, you're just trying to get a job over at Macy's and they ask you for a resume, you don't have to be as in depth. But for the law school resume, the components that we discussed, you want to go a little bit beyond because this is your horn tooting time. You want to go a little bit beyond just giving us, okay, this is what I did. So make it a little bit more specific. Don't list just your duties. Tell us what you did. Don't list just that. Oh, well, I was supposed to fold up all the clothes. Say folded. Okay. So just remember that. And oh my gosh, just jargon like that professional proficiency in whatever language that I had
I
to go.
hate that Jamie Ferrero bitch.
Yeah, Tyler, you're on. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Just make sure that you don't have to use all the jargon, all the lingo. And I think that will help you also to whittle down your resume if you have too much to put on there. Grammar and formatting errors. I'm I'm just going to throw that out there. Just make sure that you're spelling things correctly, that you're using the appropriate word where the word needs to be used, because I think that, in English, we have so many words that are similar, effect, affect. We have all those twos. We have words that you could use. Do you know the difference? Even though you wouldn't put this on your resume, but it might be in your personal statement. And you know the difference between empathize and sympathize. When should you use one? When should you use affect or effect, like I mentioned? So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. And formatting errors. Sometimes, though, when you submit your resume through LSAC, it may change the formatting if you don't use like a PDF, but I think they require you to do a PDF. So you should be okay. So just some final tips. Tailor your resume for each law school if you have to. I think in general though, like I said, we're very, very similar, but when you meet with your advisors from the different law schools, talk to them about if there's anything different that they want in a resume. You could say, hey, this was my plan. Is there anything else you like to see in a resume from applicants to your law school? And they will answer that question for you. Use action words, use your verbs, use them well, and make it concise. Like if you could say, use one word instead of using three words, use that one word. You want to highlight your strengths, and you can highlight legal interest if you have some in something in particular, or if, like I said, if there's something
Does she know me?
from your
Like,
situation
oh,
in the past that you actually have
that
done
come to brain.
as
Oh
concern.
yeah,
And you want
for her, Jen.
if you
She
talk with a professor or a mentor or your career counselor, and have them review your resume just to kind of see, am I on the right track? Am I providing too much information. And I'm sure that they'll give you some really positive and awesome feedback. So with that said, I
And
think
then
that
that.
that's my
Why?
I think that that's my time for this part of it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you so much, Daphne. That was an amazing presentation.
No problem. And look, and I hope that we were able to get to the questions that were asked in the chat. Is there anything, because I saw a couple of things that were there any things that came up that were not covered in the presentation?
If there's any questions, we're taking any questions at this time. Also, I just wanted to thank you for just being very specific about everything. I put in some notes over here in the chat so
Those
that
are awesome.
if they not just like what that was in the presentation, but specific things that you said. Yeah, it was very, very good.
Okay, so Danica, is it Danica who asked about the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, I can share some information with you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share the actual PowerPoint, but I can send some keynotes to the group,
I don't think the other window.
and I'm happy to share those.
I was gonna say if this is okay with you, could you possibly drop in your email so that if anyone has any additional questions that they can ask anything a little later?
Most definitely. And look, the great thing about it is if you don't get to see the email information, you can always go on the website and you'll see me. Just go to LSU, well, law.lsu.edu.
Perfect.
And then here is our email address to the office. And I encourage you guys to reach out if if you have questions about anything that's related to the school, and we can help you out. What I will do is I will send to whom should I send information that you can share with the group that was present today?
If you, I'll put the AAP email in the chat.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
Or you can email me as well, whatever
Okay.
you prefer. Whatever.
Okay. That sounds great. What I'll do, I'll put a note. I'll send everything to you, Kelsey, because I have your information easily. I don't have to try to remember your email address because I have an email from you. And
It's my first dot last name at UC.edu.
I got it. I have it. I'm just writing myself a note to actually send the PowerPoint info. And I'll send like a good little checklist for everybody.
That'll be perfect. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Just for everyone here, we do as AAP, we have a survey. If you guys don't mind, I put it in the chat. If you could fill a post presentation survey, and then if you need any information from AAP, I put in our email as well as our link tree with any important links. Also, I had like some personal questions that maybe some other students might want to know as well. Since, there's a lot of questions of like, okay, what do I add? What do I not add? And you have like many drafts and back and forth. What is the main mistake that you have seen, or the main like common thing that might be an oversight with students when they're trying to apply for grad school, whether it be in their personal statements or in their CVs?
So one of the biggest things is this, and it comes down to attention to detail. One of the biggest things that I've seen is that we'll have students that will apply, and I mean, law schools, grad schools, med schools, dental schools, we all know that you're applying to several schools. We hope you are anyway. And one of the biggest mistakes I see is that there are people that have a generic personal statement and make a mistake and, forgot to change it from the University of Florida to Florida State. And we get it. And it's just, it's an easy oversight, but that's one of the most common mistakes that we see. I had an applicant the other day, and she had like a rough draft of her personal statement that I think that she used because she put it in her application. And when I got to it, I saw like two yellow highlighted sections where it said insert whatever school information here, do this here. And then I called her and she was like, and I said, I know. I said, but look, send something saying that you recognize that you made a mistake. And we know you're applying to more than one law school. But one of the things that's important for this, any professional school, actually for undergrad too, is attention to detail. And then also make sure you're following the rules. If the school asks you to do something this way, do it that way. If they say list, blah, 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 list it. Don't send them an essay because that's what they want you to do. So that's probably the most common mistake. Other than that, for LSU, because we are the LSU Paul M. Hebert Law Center. People don't take the time to figure out how to spell Hebert. And I get a lot of letters or a lot of things that are addressed to Paul M. Herbert Law School. And there's only one R in Hebert, and it's at the end. So just those types of things.
And then another question that think that might be beneficial to all the students here is that when it comes to timeline and like timing of when you think that they should be starting thinking about, okay, I'm writing my CV, or especially with personal statements, because you have to get like the revisions and the drafts and all of that. When do you think they should start their process, like junior year, like depending on the year that they are, and what would be your recommendation for that?
So if it's a person so if you're between your junior and senior year, you can start over the summer thinking about what are topics that I want to talk about in my personal statement. Remember, at least I alluded to the fact that you're going to have all these other things in your app. Find something else to talk about in the personal statement. Please don't tell me that I don't want to see a list of your resume. I don't even want to see a list of like someone, oh, and then I changed my major. Okay, I saw that on your transcript. I know you changed your major. So you want to maybe over the summer start thinking about what your topic could be, and then think about how you can narrow it. And maybe write a couple of them. You don't have to use the same personal statement for every school. That's one of the things where you want to talk with someone. I have a colleague at another school that she and I would be on panels together all the time. And she would tell them, personal statement, tell me about this, and this. And then I would get them like, absolutely not. Do not put all that in your LSU personal statement. I am going to get mad. I don't want to read all that in one statement. I want positive information in the personal statement. I want you to, if you need to talk about your GPA, do a separate addendum for your negative GPA. So I think that you can start early on thinking about it, but look at the things that you do. Try to think about what was the most important part of whatever club you were in, or most important thing you did at your job or whatever. And those are things. When I talk with potential applicants, usually I ask a lot of questions because I want to know all about you. And a lot of times we'll chat and I can tell you what you need to write your personal statement about after we've chatted for a little while. And I'm not magic. And that's only if you answer the questions that I ask and answer them honestly. Then we can come up with a couple of different things that you should write about. And ask your friends. When you chat, ask your friends, ask your advisor if you have a good relationship, or a professor with whom you have a good relationship. And ask your parents. They may come up with some good ideas. Like, you want to tell them about, remember when you know, did this, and this. That was like the seed of your involvement. So, and how you got involved in being involved. So that's the thing.
Wow, that was really a lot of good information. Thank you so much, Daphne.
You're welcome.
Ready to wrap up, just to, be mindful of everyone's time. And I wanted to personally thank you for joining us
No
today.
problem.
And everyone, all the students are here, and as like all the information that you may need, as well as Daphne's information and AAP, are in the chat. So if you haven't already, just make sure to take note of that before we finish today. But before we do, is there any last questions?
I have one thing I want to add. I forgot to tell you. Remember, I mean, someone asked about, Danica, I think, asked about the PowerPoint. This is recorded, so
Yes.
if you just go to the recording, you can access the information there. It should be accessible to you if you have a copy of the recording.
Yes, we will be, eventually we'll get all the recordings up in our YouTube and academic advancement programs. Our wonderful Kelsey is putting it in the, here, give me 1 second, I can put it in the chat. Sorry, I was a direct. Okay, I'll put it in for everyone. But also if you search up in YouTube, AAP, UCF, academic advancement programs, there we post all of our meetings and all that. So
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So that'll be cool. And I'll still send something, but that's, that's access to that actual PowerPoint presentation.
perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you guys. I'm glad I got a chance to meet you. And like I said, if there's anything we can help with in the future, just give us a call.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Daphne. And thank you,
No
students,
problem.
for joining.
Thanks for the invitation. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Likewise.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.